Are you over 40, over 50, under 25 looking for life insurance?
Yes?
Are you sick of personal hygiene products that you would need a chemistry degree in order to understand any of the ingredients on?
I mean, I don't really need to understand them, I just need to... yes?
Need an industrial press looking for staff?
Wait, what? No. Yes? Question mark?
Have you watched a TikTok?
I
You
have.
should watch a TikTok. Watch more TikToks.
I mean...
About life insurance. Are you struggling to get life insurance?
No, I'm not. Also, I'm watching a TikTok now. What?
Drowned in debt.
No. Who?
You may be entitled.
To what?
Life insurance. Debt. Under 50, over 50, under 25.
I'm very confused.
Honey is a free browser extension.
Oh god, not okay, yep, okay, hi.
Would you like a free audiobook?
No, oh no.
Would you like a solution to a problem that we've created? You can skip the adverts.
I mean, I'd rather not have the problem in the first place, rather than you tell me the solution, but...
Are you thinking about flushing something that isn't toilet paper or feces?
I hadn't considered it.
Buy a new video game.
Which one?
All of them?
Uh-huh.
Now, have you thought any more about that solution to all the adverts? Just a small subscription, you can get rid of all the adverts.
I mean,
An industrial press. Come and learn at our university.
I'm going to download Adblock.
Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet Dale, and welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast. Two queer trans women talk about the various media we've consumed in the week and do silly voices and skits and have a bit of a catch-up.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm alright.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
I do know.
On a sliding scale, I'm
On a
all
sliding
right.
scale?
Yeah.
I'm doing pretty alright. Wearing a big fluffy coat. I can't be too bad.
I have a glorious Muppety wife.
I can't be upset when I'm recording a podcast looking like I've come home from a rave. Like, yes, here I am on the 6 a.m. train home.
If the world gets too much, I can just hug my
Exactly, there's a Muppet here to hug if
Muppety wife.
things get too hard. And that's okay. But first, we should probably talk about the things we've played. Because I don't think there's anything too scary in there.
Well, gosh, what have we played? Oh, do you want to start? I think we should start.
I mean, I could start. I've been putting more time into a bunch of things that I've been, just starting to play around. I might have been just after we recorded last week. I'll get the recap on Elden Ring out the way, because I've had a chance to put more time into Elden Ring. That is by far the most I've ever enjoyed a From Software game. There are so many little things about how this game is put together that just sand off a lot of the frustrating edges that come with this series. Be that putting bonfires and checkpoints before every single boss room, to having a very open-ended structure for being able to just go off the beaten path and go wandering. I spent about 30 hours in that game before I went and fought the first boss, the first proper boss.
Right.
I have... This is the first time since the original Breath of the Wild that an open-world game has grabbed me in quite this way. And a lot of what I like about Elden Ring is very much the things I liked about the first playthrough I did of Breath of the Wild. It was that sense of genuine exploration and not being sure what was going to be around the next corner, and I've just taken a detour and I've found something that I'm completely underleveled for, but I'm allowed to be here, and I can sprint past her, or I can try and cheese a fight out of it, and that sense of being in a big, adventurous world. And it has really captured that well. Notably, it has also shown me a lot of the things that, it's helped me to point at a lot of the things that stopped me going back and really replaying Breath of the Wild in the same way that I do other Zelda games and going, yeah, this is doing that formula better. I'm not saying I want Breath of the Wild 2 to be Elden Ring. That is a very difficult game, and but it does a very good job of open world exploration where you're getting that joy of exploration, but that there is still there is a much greater variety of enemy types to fight, weapon types to use, move sets for weapons, ways to customize your build, curated linear dungeons within the big open world.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the things that Elden Ring is doing are things I've looked at Breath of the Wild and gone, I would really like to see a sequel do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there has been very little in the way of repetition of content, which has been really nice. I'm very pleased that FromSoft seems to have backed off a lot on their sort of mentality of if you put points into a thing or upgrade a thing in a certain way, you are committed to it. And if you make the wrong choice, you kind of fucked up. You can, for a little bit of effort, you can respec all the levels you've done earlier if you want to rebuild your build. You can pick a, like, weapon scaling type so that, like, which element it'll scale with, and then just take that off at a moment's notice and reapply another one later. It still has its little things where it just expects you to get good, but generally a lot of that it has moved into optional side content that is avoidable if you're trying to beat the main game.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a really good approach to have. Like, you can very much mainline the main plot, and you will have challenges, but they'll be pretty well scaled, and if you want to go fight, like, oh, you know those two tough bosses, we pumped their health up and put them both in a room together?
Mm-hmm.
That's an option. It's out the way. There's nothing, like, you'll get a reward for doing it, but it's not like, you're missing out on the best thing in the game because you didn't do it. They're all, like, optional little challenges you can do yourself. It's a really good game. I keep being surprised by, like, some of the ways of interacting with that world that are very logically consistent, but I hadn't expected them to do those things with the mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very satisfying game.
Yay.
And I said this when I first started talking about it. I'm very happy to play a FromSoft game that isn't just grey and brown and occasionally dark purple if there's poison.
That has lobsters, I hear.
Yeah, there's lobsters. I got a horse. My horse is pretty cool.
I like that you can just summon the horse anywhere.
Yeah, you can just summon the horse anywhere.
Yeah.
If a thing I learned, if there's an area where, like, Blight Town is an area famous in a lot of in the old Dark Souls games of being like, this is the poison area. While you're walking through it, you are just taking poison, and it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
If you ride through on the horse, you don't take poison because you're up above the poison. Your horse your horse doesn't take poison damage. It's a ghost horse. It's just a ghost. You are out the poison. You're fine.
Nice.
Which has made poison areas. Yeah, it's still a threat because occasionally you got to get off your horse to fight stuff. But, like, it is a lot less immediately frustrating.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in here where I'm like, if I was gonna recommend someone a Souls game, it would probably be this.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just got a lot of those rough edges. It's still not going to be for everyone, but I'm having a great time.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're enjoying
I'm
it.
having a great time.
And do you know roughly how far through it you are? Do you think there's a lot to it?
The sense I get is that there's a lot to it. I think there are 5 or 6 main areas with big bosses at the end of them, and I have defeated one of them. I've gone to lots of the other areas and done things out of order and messed around. But, like, I could see this being like Breath of the Wild being 100-hour or so first playthrough. Maybe more, who knows?
Wow.
It's a big, beefy game that doesn't feel needlessly spread out. It feels very content dense. What about you? What have you played this week?
Oh, goodness. We played some of Stonemaier Games' wine production game.
Yeah.
Viticulture. We played it in 4-player.
We did. I enjoy that in 4-player.
Yeah. It's it's a bit different having that extra slot on each action opened up, and just the way that interacts with 4 people.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, because, like, it kind of changes the mechanics about some of the more desirable spots on the board, because rather than going, I have to be first place because otherwise I can't place it, you get that sort of, I can place it first or second. That gives me a bit of leeway. First will give me an additional benefit, and maybe I'm counting on that additional benefit to speed me up. but if I miss first, it's not the end of the world. It changes the flow a little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. I enjoyed it. We played the base game board.
Mm-hmm.
We had the expanded visitors set, but they're nicely integrated anyway. It wasn't too difficult. And yeah, we managed to teach it fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Took a little. I think people were very worried about strategy very early on.
Yes.
Like they both seem to be like trying to go, what is the move that I do here, the perfect move.
They both, I think, went into it with the I don't know how to solve this game yet.
Yeah.
And therefore I'm worried I'm making bad moves.
Yes. And I just kept trying to remind them that there is no perfect move.
Yeah.
Just try and aim for.
Yeah.
You have some targets here. Try and work towards that.
That's the thing. Like, I was trying to hit home, like, you have a lot of options. None of them's going to be perfect, but ultimately it's get grapes in your field, harvest the grapes, make the grapes into wine, sell them to people.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your 4 things you're trying to do.
Yep.
What on the board will help you get further in that?
Exactly. And I think we taught okay. Ran a little bit longer than I was expecting, but I think that was partly the nature of 4-player. But
and partly the nature of new people wanting to take some time to think about their moves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I am glad we have tried it in a different player count, and maybe we will play it in different player counts at some point. Because there's enough boards to play up to 6. So
Yeah.
not that I necessarily want to try and sit around and play that for hours with 6 people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was nice to see extra bits of that game.
Yeah.
Well, what about you? What have you played?
I have spent a lot this week playing around with the Steam Deck.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, that Valve handheld gaming console / Linux PC.
Yes.
So I gotta work out how to talk about this thing. If you are someone who just wants to play your Steam library of PC games on a handheld and likes the thought of a device that you boot it up and it looks like Steam Big Picture mode and a lot of your Steam library will play on it and it is surprisingly powerful for its sort of price point and size, it's a very good device. It is a very simple device. It feels like a console to use in that experience. It is a Linux PC, and there is a lot of neat additional things you can make this thing do, but the second you go outside of that, I'm playing Steam games that have been verified as playable by Valve and are here in Steam, and I'm using this ecosystem. As soon as you step outside of that, you realize very quickly that this thing is not a console, it's PC. It is a handheld PC, and that comes with a lot of caveats.
Especially if you've never used Linux before.
Yeah, so just staying in that console view, there is a lack of even the most basic system-level accessibility settings you would see from console manufacturers, because Valve has very clearly taken the approach of, well, it's up to either game developers or you go on the Linux front end and find the tools and put them in. We're just Steam, seems to be the approach. And then, desktop mode. Desktop mode is useful if you want to install stuff that isn't on Steam, and you want to run it through that console-looking interface. You have to boot to the Linux desktop, install stuff, say, from the Discover store, or learn how to install executables on Linux and install them that way, then go into Steam in the desktop mode, because that's the only one that has the button to add non-Steam games to your Steam library, then go back into the big picture mode equivalent, then hope that your Linux software will boot within the gaming mode and...
without flashing.
Yes. Big warning, if you are photosensitive, if you have a condition like epilepsy, a lot of third-party Linux programs, when you boot them in gaming mode, it's usually if your program will try and open a second window, particularly if it's a full-screen window, where it will just full-screen flash back and forth between the two windows erratically for sometimes like 10 seconds while it works out which is the primary window. Like, these are the kind of things that happen because this is a PC, it's not a curated experience, there is no quality assurance. There is no guarantee of everything that runs on here will perform in a certain way. Do you know about Linux command line inputs? Like, one thing I came up against when trying to install third-party programs to run in gaming mode was, how do I run stuff as the root user? Okay, I can't. I have to learn what a sudo command is in order to basically do the run as admin before I go into the command line to install stuff. It's a whole thing. I had to learn how to be a Linux person over a few days. It was... Linux, I'm sure there are Linux people who are listening who'll be like, no, it's easy. No, I can't just double-click on an executable and a thing happens. Yeah.
I grew up with DOS, so, like, part of me's like, maybe I'd really get into that.
Maybe, but, like, here's the thing. The desktop mode, as default, doesn't have a keyboard.
Doesn't have a virtual keyboard.
No, I had to go into the Discover store and find a keyboard to download. Yeah, it's...
Will a USB keyboard work with it?
It will, yes, but also at the time I was having to fuss around with how to get the USB-C to USB adapter hub working. This is a PC experience. This is not I turn on my Nintendo Switch and the games are there and I put the game in and the game works.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I sound like
I'm trying to hack my Switch.
I mean, yeah, basically. But, like, the payoff of that complexity is that you can get things that, if you want to play around with emulators, and there's a bunch of them in the Discover store, this thing can flawlessly emulate a lot of very modern systems. Like, GameCube emulation at increased
3DS?
resolution, 3DS looks fucking gorgeous on
I know, I saw.
PS3 emulation.
That was pretty wild.
Really nice.
You got Demon Souls running on
Yeah, I
it.
got Demon Souls, I got Persona 5 running on it, like flawless PS3 emulation. Switch emulation's like 90% there. Like it's real close. Legends Arceus you can get to like 25 frames a second out of 30, and I feel like people will quickly, when more people have this work
out
out
how to refine it.
Yeah, it feels like it's right on the cusp of being there. Like, this
So
thing...
you don't think it's a power issue? You think it's just a matter of time and tweaking?
I think a big part of it, I think, honestly, it's downloading pre-built shader caches, because it seems to be slowing down when loading in a new animation for the first time.
Right.
And I think it's just having to translate shaders into something that Linux can run. And I think pre-built shader caches probably is the answer, but... Yeah, this is a real nice, powerful handheld. I've been playing around being like, okay, what stuff can I run on this? Modern 3D titles of the last few years run really nicely. I played around a bit today with Horizon Zero Dawn, the PC port of that, which a lot of computers struggle with. Ran fine as anything. Dark Souls 3 runs fine as anything. It is a beefy little machine.
Yeah.
So I really like the touchpads on it for mouse replacement. This is not strictly a mouse replacement. It's like a scroll, like a wheel mouse, where you sort of spin the ball and there's a little bit of momentum
like
as it moves.
trackball.
Yeah, trackball, where you can sort of spin it a bit harder and you'll move further for the same amount of thumb movement.
So you can play Centipede on it.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very satisfying setup for playing stuff like point-and-click adventures. Like I was replaying Inscription on it, and that is a surprisingly good way to play that game. If you want to play stuff that requires a mouse on a handheld, this is about as good a way as you're going to get to do it. The Steam Deck really feels like it was released like in a very rushed way, in that mine arrived and I went to update it and I got a special message that said, hey, yours is one of the very first ones off the assembly line. As such, it doesn't have the correct BIOS installed. Don't worry, we're going to do an update, your screen's going to turn sideways and you're going to have a bunch of text appear. Don't worry about that. it's very when finishing the BIOS, like it feels like this thing has hit the ground running without some very basic features and with a great degree of it technically works, you work it out. It feels like the hardware release equivalent of a early access game in a lot of ways. Fun fact, the day I got mine, earlier that day, people had been reporting stick drift issues. Turned out they'd been introduced by a software update earlier that morning that had put the wrong dead zone location for the analog sticks, and 2 hours later there was another update to fix it.
Wow.
Like, this thing is not a polished, finished...
They're just running around putting out fires. Huh?
Yeah, it is a... We've technically finished it. Here you go, right now. And I love it. But, like, I spent the first 2 to 3 days I had this thing testing and tweaking and working stuff out. This was not an experience where I picked it up and went, like, let's go straight into playing games. I was like, okay, I know what I want to do with this and I know it can do it. How do I get from A to B? And how do I learn the things I need to learn? Like, how does the Linux file structure work and how do I work out where my screenshots are saved if I want to upload to social media via a browser? Like, little things like that just... You gotta dig it and work it out. And I really like it, but just go in expecting to have a slightly intimidating first few days.
Should we talk about something we've both played?
What have we both played?
We both played Aperture Desk Job.
We did, yeah. We had a slightly different experience of this because I played it on the Steam Deck, which it's clearly designed for.
Yes.
And you played it with just
I played it on PC with a Xbox Series X controller.
Yeah, do you want to start talking about this?
Yeah, so it is a an experience clearly designed to show off the tech of the Steam Deck.
I was surprised to find out it wasn't just a Steam Deck exclusive.
Yeah, you can play you can play it with a controller. Yeah. There are 2 bits you will need a keyboard and a mouse for, and that's about it.
Yeah. So, fun fact, if you play with a PS4 or PS5 controller...
You can do the gyro bit.
You can do the gyro and the touchscreen on the touch panel. I think it's just the... Actually, I don't know if you can do the mic, because I know the PS4 controller has a mic.
I have a mic plugged in, and I shouted at it, and nothing happened.
Yeah. So yeah, what is this?
So this is an experience set in the Portal universe, whereby you are working for Aperture, and you are a tester. Funny that. Your role is to basically... there will be toilets coming along a production line, and you fill them, flush them, pressure test them.
Yes.
And like bidet them.
Yeah.
With a little
You're
squirty there.
just an Aperture toilet tester.
Yeah. And you have a companion who is a personality sphere, I guess.
Yep.
They have an arm occasionally.
They do.
And they have dreams and plans. It's a 15-minute experience.
I think like at least 20 minutes, I think.
Yeah, 15-20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's got some interesting plot. It has some interesting considerations for the wider Portal universe.
It has some charm, and it has some real lore implications for if they ever make another Portal.
I really liked the sort of silent story completely running in the background.
Oh yes, the one that takes place between the floors as it's
because there's a lot of you're just going to stay there and we're going to beam you up and down.
Yeah.
We're going to pretend that you're going in lifts or whatever, but...
I'll say this, if it turns out that the ending of this is a setup for an eventual Portal 3, I'd be very happy with that being the Portal 3 setup.
You completely trolled me with this week's accessibility footage. Yeah, because you put in Portal 2 footage of Portal 2 Chapter 3 and labelled it Portal 3. I was like, Wait, what's happening?
I mistyped. I'm so sorry.
Wait, what's happening?
Yeah, no Portal
It was
3.
not Portal 3. It was Portal 2 Chapter 3.
Yeah. No, I'd hit the wrong key on the keyboard.
It's fine. I was just like, huh?
Yeah.
Is this a big... Are we getting a big reveal? No.
I probably should have warned you if I had Portal 3 footage to put in.
Yeah, maybe. It's
So I've been
I'll
playing
give her a
that all
surprise.
this week.
Well, yeah. Yeah, it was... entertaining thing,
Yeah.
and like it's free, so don't worry if you don't have a Steam Deck or won't have one for a while.
Yeah, it will just occasionally talk about buttons you don't have.
Yeah.
You might not get to spin a certain gun on a
Yeah.
certain axis.
And you'll have to sign your name with a mouse.
Yeah. Exactly.
I put Chell.
Yeah.
I'm not Chell. Crimes. Yeah, it was a fun experience. Have you played anything else?
Yeah, I've been playing with the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus.
That thing is surprisingly light.
Surprisingly, yeah, it's about the form... So this is another one of those, like, retro gaming emulator handhelds.
Yeah. So it's about the same size as the Amonic RG350.
It's not a metal case like that, but,
Yeah, but even
it's-
so, like, I'm still curious what the battery life on this is, because it doesn't feel like it's got a battery in it.
Well, I mean, I haven't put it back on charge since last week when I started messing around with it. I've played it a considerable amount. It's still got 40% battery.
Wow.
It's got a pretty good battery, and that included playing GameCube games on it. Yeah, so
I don't know what type of battery is in there, but that is...
It's a decent one.
And so light.
Yeah, so this seems to be trying to position itself as the new affordable price point emulator machine for like small form factor, low point of entry price.
Mhm.
I think they're sub £100. And it is a very capable emulator for its price point and size. It is an Android-based one, rather than the custom firmware ones like the Ambernic, and that has some nice little benefits in that you can have games suspended in the background, like minimized, and go play a different game,
Mhm.
and then hop back to the game you were playing.
Wow.
You can play Android apps, so like you could play, say, the Android version of Dead Cells plays really nicely on it, or apps like YouTube. But there is also a little app you can boot into that is a very just, here is the emulator front end, pick your system, pick your game, go. In terms of like how it stands up to other similar price stuff like the Ambernic in terms of performance, it doesn't struggle at all with the most demanding N64 games. You can play them at boosted up resolution, you can play them at like 4 times speed. Zero issue. I have mine set up currently with a fast forward. So if I'm like, okay, I want to fast forward through the cutscene, turn it to 4x speed until the cutscene's done, turn that back off.
Nice.
Runs PS1, it runs PS2 with, if you reduce the resolution, you can get PS2 games running with some success. GameCube is the one I've been playing around with a fair bit. If you are happy to turn down the resolution a little, which it's a small size screen that sort of accommodates, you can run pretty close to perfect frame rate GameCube games, which is real neat. I have been really enjoying it, and I think it's going to end up being my new like travel device for if it's like, I just want something small I can chuck in a bag.
Yep.
Not take the whole bag up. I started replaying Pokemon Coliseum on it, and that's a game I've been wanting to replay for ages, and yep, that runs really nicely.
Mhm.
It's a little portable GameCube, as long as you don't mind slightly low res GameCube.
Buttons okay?
Yeah, buttons are really nice. The only thing that's going to be a bit divisive for people, I think, is that the left analog stick is an analog stick. It's a raised one that tilts.
Right.
The right analog stick is more like
the nub.
It's the 3DS slide pad,
Oh no.
which is going to be real divisive. Some people love them, some people hate them conceptually.
Okay, can I have a quick...
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I don't think it's as hard sprung as the
Yes.
the 3DS nub, because that thing was painful after a while.
yeah. So, if you dislike the 3DS nub conceptually, you will probably dislike this.
Yeah.
If you had specific issues with the way that worked, and specifically with its very firm tension, this is a much smoother to use one, and
Definitely.
honestly, didn't fucking notice. I very quickly was okay with it. It was slightly surprising. Like, I didn't anticipate it, but in play, I didn't notice it. It is not nearly as much of a notable thing as it was on 3DS.
Was that the one that you had to insert the ribbon cable properly?
Yes.
It
So yes. The one issue I had with this Ambinic, and I initially thought there was a broken
Retroid.
yes. With the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus, at first I thought it had shipped with a dodgy analog stick, and it's thankfully very easy to open up and have a look because it's standard screws. It's very standard parts to take apart, and it's put in such a way that it's very easy for disassembly. There was a misinserted ribbon cable. It just wasn't seated quite right, which I'm comfortable fixing because I've been doing this with Joy-Con analog sticks for a while. But if you would look at a circuit board and go, yeah, that's not ideal quality control. And I never want to assume anything about a product at large by my individual experience, but it was a thing I had that wasn't a huge issue, and even if it had been a broken stick, it's about £2 to order a replacement stick. But it's still not a great first impression for a device like that.
Yeah, I imagine somebody less willing to sort of look inside a device
Yeah.
and less recent experience of messing around
Yeah.
with Joy-Cons might have gone,
Yeah.
it's broken, and just send it back.
I mean, yeah, I have on my desk a spare Joy-Con analog stick because I took it out because I was like, oh, if it's a busted analog stick,
I've got one of them.
I'm pretty sure I have the exact analog stick they use. I'll just pop another of those in, but didn't end up being needed. But
Nice.
yeah, it's a really nice little device.
Well,
It's got a touchscreen on it, which is
surprised the hell out of me.
yeah, a positive thing to see there. It's really nice in terms of if you download Android games that have that only support touchscreen controls, there's a really good utility for map that on-screen control to this physical thing, and you can very quickly go, I now have physical buttons and sticks for my touchscreen controls. Hide the on-screen controls. I'll just play it like a normal game. For a lot of games, you can click on them a certain way, and it will show you community-made layouts for the controller.
Nice.
So you can just go, oh yeah, I'll use the community one. There you go, control setup.
Nice.
And the last thing it does that's really nice is if you're in the emulator front end and you pick a game and a system to play, it will look up what the community recommends is the best emulator available in terms of performance for that specific game and boot it into that emulator.
Oh, wow.
Or that core in RetroArch. It will pair it with whatever will get it the best running results.
Yeah.
And that's real nice.
Nice.
What about you? What have you played?
Well, since we're talking about handhelds, emulator type
Yeah.
things, I've been playing PS1 era, definitely not Pokemon Azure Dreams.
Yes, you have. Tell us
Yeah.
about this for anyone who doesn't know what it is.
So this is like a 97, 98 game published by Konami. That is essentially trying to ride the Pokemon bandwagon.
Yeah.
You are a kid who lives in a desert town. At the center of this town is this huge magical tower, which is filled with monsters. And from all around the world, people go into the tower to get monsters, to tame them, or to capture eggs of the monsters and bring them out for fun and profit.
It's got that similarity, but not quite the same nature to Pokemon as some of those weird ROM hacks that went around in the 90s. That the one that presented itself as Pokemon Emerald was very like this. The creature collect it. Yeah, it was a very similar, not quite Pokemon thing.
So it's you have a whole city thing. You've got people to talk to and things to interact with, and then you just go into the tower and it It's completely different every time you go in. It's procedurally generated.
It's dungeon runs,
Yeah,
kinda.
dungeon runs,
Yeah.
turn-based dungeon runs.
Hmm.
So you will find yourself a sword and a shield, and just more various treasures. You can find eggs. You can either open them in the dungeon and have a friend just for that dungeon run, or you can keep the egg, take it home, hatch it, and that will be a permanent friend that will return back to your base if you die. If you die, you lose all of your stuff except for your familiars that are permanent. The familiars will go back to your little hut. You can expand your hut to fit more friends. You can chat to various people, and they will give you like jobs. Like your mum initially gives you a job of, hey, you should go to the temple and give them some money so that they can build a bigger temple. And then you do that, and then the guy who runs the temple's like, yeah, you should build a bowling alley, my dude. And so you're sort of slowly building up a better relationship with a lot of the people, because the impression you get is that your character was kind of a tearaway for a while after your dad disappeared in the tower when you were little. And so there's a lot of initially, like, some of the shopkeepers are like, oh, you're here to make trouble again. Oh, you're not going to buy anything. You're not going to do anything. Just bugger off. And, like, the more you come back and you're like, hey, I've got some eggs to sell, or I've got some weapons to sell.
I'm here to
Or
do
I'm
actual
actually here to buy
commerce.
food, or actually here to buy a drink. Cool. You're good to stay. And, like, people will be like, hey, I lost this really important key item. Or I broke this really important key item, and I hear there's another one on level 10. Can you go and get me one? Cool, off you go. And I suppose the big difference between this and Pokemon is the fact that you can eventually get a second monster leash, and you can basically start fusing monsters together. So if you have, like the one I used to do was a maneuver, which is a sort of like a Ditto. It's like a slimy thing, and it attacks you, and it can take on like the form of other creatures.
Yeah.
But also, if you hit it enough, it might split into two.
Ooh.
And I used to fuse that with a metal, which is basically just, it's got like very, very high defense stat.
Yeah.
And it's quite good hitty as well. So if you fuse the two together, it will be a really, really tough thing that splits into multiple really, really tough things. And eventually you can have like a small army marching around the levels with you.
Yeah.
That will disappear back down to the original one when you move up to the next floor.
I've always enjoyed that as a mechanic. It's one that I came across again recently, replaying Monster Rancher. Does a lot of that stuff. I like it as a concept.
Yeah, there's lots of fun stuff to do in there with like what combos do you want to make and like training extra ones, but also like just doing plot stuff and like finding a sword and shield that aren't going to rust and then leveling them up so that you constantly have better and better weapons, as well as your leveled monsters, allowing you to get higher and higher up the tower. There's lots to discover, and I think I finished it once by cheating, just because I wanted to see what the end was like.
Yeah.
I action replayed in like a bunch of the best stuff. I don't really remember it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those like, you did the thing. Here is a very special monster and a key item. Now just go back to town and it all just keeps happening as if none of it ever happened. But it's the journey, and I'd like to do the journey honestly for once.
Yeah.
We'll see how I get on, but yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying playing through that again, because I think the last time I played it was probably like mid-2000s.
Yeah.
What about you? Played anything else?
That's it for me, really. It's just been a week of playing new handhelds interspersed with Elden Ring.
We did play one other thing.
We did play one other thing.
We played Clank Legacy.
Yeah, we played the first three sessions of Clank Legacy in a big weekend.
Yeah.
How'd you find it? You're not sold?
Not sold. So, Clank Legacy is what if Clank, the classic game by Renegade Games and Direwolf of deck building and dungeon diving, was a legacy game mixed in with the Penny Arcade Acquisitions Incorporated.
Yes. So, this is the
Which
thing.
is why I've never purchased it.
It's a thing we would never have purchased ourselves, but the friends that we play legacy games with purchased it, not knowing about Penny Arcade.
Yeah.
And we were like, well...
I mean, you've got it. Also, they did not pay full price for it. I think they got it for like about £50 on the back end of Zatu, because they do like, we had damaged ones. Sorry about
and it seems in pretty perfect condition.
Yeah,
like,
the box is a bit smashed.
They got a good deal on that discount.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, so the first game was What If Clank, but nobody wanted to finish the game.
Yes.
Like, I've never played a game of Clank where we have had to reshuffle the adventure discard pile and keep going, because people were still going around doing stuff. And that was mainly not because people were, grabbing loads of treasure and doing loads of things. It was because, if I go over here, I can read another page out of the secret tome. If I go over here, there's more plot and more plot. But we could finish this adventure mission that we've got before we go and wrap up.
Yeah.
And in that first mission, there was a real sense of we're doing a thing together.
Yes.
We're on a D&D campaign. And I was all up for more of that.
Okay.
And then we played the second one. And the second one settled down and was more like just Clank.
Yeah.
Because there was, I think, maybe 2 bits of story, plus the intro and the outro.
Yeah.
Like, there weren't, loads and loads of newly opening bits to do. There was less stop-start to, I've gone here, now I have to immediately read this thing in the book, check off a bunch of stuff, add new cards to the deck, to the deck, do different things. I think number 2 was the first one where we got our rolls.
Yeah.
So it was like, hey, now you're going to start to refine the deck, your starting deck to who your character is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that was quite interesting. It was a game to get us into that concept, and I was well up for that. 2, it was a bit of a change, and it was very quick, and I was like, okay, this feels more like what I expected from Clank Legacy. And then we played game 3, and it went from feeling like we're all in a D&D mission together to this isn't cooperative enough to be a cooperative game, and it's not competitive enough to fully be a competitive game.
I was trying to work out what felt weird about that third session, and I think a lot of it came down to who we played with, and one choice they made reminded me of something very specific, and it reminded me of the energy of when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons with a player who isn't interested in the collaborative story. When you sometimes play D&D with someone who's like, yeah, but I want to individually win D&D right now. And I don't care if that's going to be fun for everyone else.
Yes.
Because the short version is, you got a narrative thread opened up to you where you had the item, you had the thing that seemed like your story.
Yes.
And there was technically a second option there, which was someone else could take some damage and go do it instead. And it was, I felt quite clearly intended to be if you with the quest item die, someone else can go do the thing still and it's fine. But instead, someone else went, yeah, but this is technically a competitive game, so I want to do it. And sort of stole your story from under you and then died before handing it in because they didn't actually care about finishing the story. They were like, they just wanted to have the thing.
They wanted to have the thing. They wanted to go and get more things.
Yeah, they didn't.
And then they didn't. They never made a beeline back to doing the thing.
Yeah.
And I think the other reason that stung a bit was less the whole, because of the character, the mini I chose. It felt thematic that I should be doing that mission.
It was a narratively satisfying thing as well as you'd been to the place. Yeah.
I did ADHD'd, and now I don't know what my point was, so we're going to move on slightly.
The game felt like it was rewarding just going and sprinting to every plot point, and when you have a player that will sprint to every plot point so there's not plot points left for anyone else, it's not necessarily ideal.
I think the other reason that stung a lot is because that was the same game where I had been like, okay, I'm going to take a bunch of damage and, like, slightly throw myself off for the good of the group. Because it was one of those, hey, the evil organisation that you're working against, they're going to get a tick on this track, which is their progress if you don't do this thing. And I was like, oh, I will do that thing for the good of the group and the thing.
Yeah.
And then for the other person to be like, haha, I got the thing because I wanted to. Bye! Oh no, I'm dead. And now everybody else is dead because I was really reckless and fucked everything up.
Everyone around the table, I think, was a little deflated because, like, after your turn, the next two players, myself and someone else, were like, yep, not gonna go for it. This is yours. Leave it for you. And, like, the player who went and sniped it just sat there silently, not saying anything, like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna go get it. And it's like, I feel like there is the comparison to the D&D thing is what stuck with me, and I think at some point I might have a conversation with that player if we're going to play more Clank Legacy and go, I get that you like winning things, but also...
And I get that this is a competitive game, and I get that this is your game, but...
Yeah.
Can I get some clarity on how we're playing this? Because the other thing about Clank Legacy is we all know around the table as a group that at the end of the game we will have, or they will have, a customized version of Clank that is completely different to anyone else's because of the decisions and the way the game was played.
Yeah.
Like, we've already found that as a result of that decision, a card that I ended up getting when I did my part of that had to be destroyed.
And it was a beautiful card.
But that's never going to be ever in the game again. And I think something else got brought out but was made more difficult.
Yeah.
So they are making decisions that are going to permanently affect not only the game that we're playing right now, the games going forward, and any other games they play with that.
And again, I think that the way to do this is to not say that was inherently a bad thing to do, but to go, as a group, what do we want to get out of playing Clank Legacy?
Yeah.
The same way that you would with a D&D session, because, like, you can go, look, your character you've created for your D&D campaign is clearly trying to do something wildly different to the rest of the party and is not in any way aligned, and, like...
I don't think that was a character decision. I think that was a player decision.
No, it's a player decision, but, like, I think it comes from a similar place. Like, you'll sometimes get the person who's like, I want to play the D&D character who is an asshole to the rest of the party and treats them all very mean, and you get a session in and you're like, none of our characters want to have you here. That's all, but we have to play together. And you have to talk that out. So, yeah, I think that there is a certain degree of, are we playing this as an do you have a friendly house rule, perhaps, of if someone picks up the start of a quest, it's their quest at that point, and they get to decide what's done with it.
Maybe we need to look at it from a D&D point of view and have, like, go back to a session 0 and go, what are we getting out of this?
Yeah.
Because I think if we're going to keep playing like that, then I will do less. I'm going to sacrifice myself for the group.
Yeah, it's... Yeah. Like, maybe a good way to look at it is if someone was doing their narrative quest in D&D, their little story chunk that the DM was like, oh yes, I'm making a story for you. This is clearly the one where, like, this is your moment to do a thing. And another player was like, yeah, but I'm just going to go do the thing. Like, it's like, no, that was clearly someone else's, and it's kind of shitty of you to snipe it.
Yeah, it feels like if we had all sat down and played Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, and, like, I had just opened access to my personal quest.
Yes.
And then, like, the rest of the table were like, yeah, we'll go and do your personal quest next just because that's good. And the other person gone, no, we're not doing that, I've decided, and just unilaterally decided for the table.
Yeah. I will say, I think that Clank Legacy is a game that's will work better. Like, if you were to play this with a group of people that you already play D&D with, and you know you have good D&D etiquette, you could probably have a really nice time with this.
I think so.
I think that very specifically that's a compatible group type for this. But I think that, you have to be aware this is a competitive, cooperative game. and what kind of actions will feel like that was a dick move that genuinely upset me, and which ones are okay, I see what you did there, that's fair, this is a competitive thing.
Yeah.
And you've got to talk that line out sometimes.
Yeah, I think there just hasn't been a discussion about what is this and how are we playing it.
Yeah.
Because yes, it is competitive. Yes,
Yeah.
that is an option in the way we played, but that was not a conversation that we had.
Yeah,
and
and
maybe we should have done.
And I think that's something I don't necessarily think we could have anticipated until we played it. Like, it wasn't until someone did that we realised, oh, there is no formal rule here. It is table etiquette, and you realise that that's conversations to have.
Yeah.
But I'm intrigued to play more, assuming we have that conversation first and talk it through. Because, like, mechanically, I like how often it's doling out narrative.
Yeah.
I'm liking the ongoing story. It feels like playing a little D&D, like a little D&D campaign.
I like reading the bits on the bottom of the card. It helps pass the time.
Yep. I like knowing on the board where the plot things are and the sort of spread of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a neat little game with some serious caveats that, like, it feels like should probably be codified in rules. Like, I've played tabletop RPGs that have had in the rule book, this is a thing that you might encounter if this may happen between your player group. Have conversations about what you think these outcomes. Thirsty Sword Lesbians comes to mind. Thirsty Sword Lesbians is a good tabletop RPG that,
it's all about consent and communication.
That has good community. It's like, these are the kind of things that might come up during the game. Talk as a group about how you feel about certain things before you start playing.
And you have your red card, your safe word card, basically.
Yeah, and, like, I'm not necessarily suggesting that the safe word card's required here, but I think, like, hey, are you playing this as cutthroat rivals? Are you playing this as a group working together, but you're playfully against it? Like, like, that would be a useful thing to codify in rules, I think.
And, like, the other thing is, with the story points, there hasn't really been any point where it's been like, aha, you have gained, personally, a mechanical bonus for that.
Yeah.
What we have found is you have unlocked a thing that will appear in the adventure deck or give us some extra story bit further on. None of it's been, haha, I've had immediate personal benefit.
I mean, I got a little personal benefit out of one quest where I gave up a lot of resources. And, like, that one felt obvious because it's like, it was asking for quite a big price to be paid, and I got something personal, but I think I also saved the group from something. But, like, generally speaking...
But also not super personal, like, because as soon as the next game started, that was available to...
Yeah, I suppose so. Like, it's... I get your point in that, like, the personal sprinting for, like, I want to do all the quests... You're not really more likely to win because you did. Like, the person who went and sprinted and did that quest didn't win because they did.
If anything, they died because they did.
Yeah.
They just kept being reckless and being reckless and being reckless until they died. And then everyone else died because the game sped up so much.
The feeling I get is that where the competitive and cooperative divide, I think, is the on-the-board objectives should be cooperative. This is working as a group to do the things for the greater good. I think the things that should be competitive are who purchases get managed to buy the good cards from the row, who gets the good artifact off the board.
But that's very much about how you're playing Clank.
Yeah, like,
as opposed to how you're playing the legacy aspect.
Yeah, like, I won't bemoan anyone who sprints around picking up all the major secrets before anyone else can and getting all those. Cool. Just, like, don't be a dick about someone else's, like, oh, I found a cool thing. Oh, that's your cool thing now. That just feels a bit dickish.
And now because you killed yourself, essentially, it's nobody's cool thing.
Yeah. I was frustrated because when they stole the quest, I was like, okay, go hand it in. They were like, no, I'm going to go do something else. And they died before handing it in. And it was like, if you're gonna steal it, at least do the thing that's good for the group. Don't steal it and then keep focusing on yourself.
Yeah. So that's Clank Legacy.
Yeah. I'm hoping that third game will be a learning lesson and will sort of fix things going forward, because the first and second games I thought were really good.
Yes. Yeah.
And the third game, that aside, was good other
I,
than...
I was keen enough to play it a third time, and after the
Yeah.
third time I was like,
Yeah. And again, I don't think that's the game's fault. I think that is a fixable issue. Yeah. Did we play anything else?
I don't believe so.
Well then, time for this.
She okay?
Oh, Alice. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I should have given you a heads up. Yeah, the fact... how do I put this? She's stuck in a time bubble right now.
Right.
Yeah, the whole not moving and just being frozen in place. So it's 4 o'clock now, right?
Yeah.
So at 2 o'clock there was meant to be a builder here doing some work.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, she's not had so much as a text.
right. So a plan was made, and then just
Yeah, she's in that whole I can't start anything because what if I start and then the builder shows up in the middle, so I should wait, but I shouldn't just wait because I'm doing nothing.
and have stuff to do,
Yeah.
but also can't start because thing.
Yeah,
Oh.
I know, right? I know, right?
Well, only an hour until the end of the day, so hopefully.
Yeah. As long as there isn't a text in that hour, we should be fine. Ah.
Should I make her a tea, maybe?
I think she'd appreciate it. She could probably handle a cuppa. Can you handle a cuppa?
I get her a straw.
Yeah, give me a small one.
I'll get her a small.
Yeah. Right. Everyone. We've called this press conference as we've got some very important news for all of you in the press. We have discovered the world's very first quantum creature. It exists in multiple states at once. I don't want to get into the technical specifics, but it can fluctuate in weight from as light as a feather to the heaviest thing on the planet, depending on context. Do we have any questions from the press? Yes?
Is it safe for the public?
Yes. Matter of fact, many of you may already have encountered them in your homes.
Is it safe for people with black clothing?
They do come in varieties that are safe for people with black clothing, not all of them.
And when will we get to see this particular creature? Will that be available for the public to see?
Well, right now I cannot show you, because it is having a nice sleep on my lap, making it the heaviest thing in the world. I cannot possibly pick it up and show you. Oh, okay, it's waking up, and someone... There you go, it's, look how light this little baby kitty is!
Little baby.
Just a little baby's nothing.
Aww.
Well, what have you put in your eyes?
Oh, well, we put something in our eyes that we're a few episodes deep in. We started watching a show called Severance.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't recognised the pun about, like, when you stop working somewhere, you get severance pay.
Yeah.
I hadn't twigged that.
Yeah.
That's a real good thriller, mystery, fascinating sci-fi thing. The general concept, there is a company, we don't know exactly what they do, but they have a basement floor that works on stuff that they're very, very adamant not get leaked, like no one outside can know what they're working on.
I'm not convinced most of the people inside know what they're working
Well,
on.
yeah, that's a whole other thing. But in order to get a job there, you have to agree to a procedure called severance, where your mind is split into two halves, the work half and the outside of work half, and as you're going up the elevator to work, it swaps and you can't access the memories of the other one, so you essentially become two people, a person who walks into work and the next thing they're aware of, they're walking out of work, but they don't know... their whole time at work is just an instant and it hasn't happened. And the one of them that is constantly at work, and the second they leave work they're back at work because they don't remember their life outside of work.
Yeah, and the people inside work are sort of wondering what their outside lives are like, or making up ridiculous concept of what that might be.
Not remembering who they are outside of work, like they don't know if they have loved ones, they don't know what the state of the world is. Like, very early on there's conversations about, like, surely the world out there must be terrible, because if I agreed to split my mind in two. I must have been trying to get away from something, so the world's probably terrible. And it's sort of shown through the lens of a new hire just as they wake up in this perpetual...
Asleep on a boardroom.
Yes, the perpetual
Table.
workroom that they try and leave work, and as they sprint out the door, they sprint back in. It's
fascinating, and it provokes a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But also it's dark and terrifying, and it feels like the kind of thing even Supremacy Software wouldn't do.
Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't feel overly moment-to-moment bleak because of the, like, there's good writing of the humour in it to keep some levity in. Like, I like the character writing.
I feel like episode 3 really ramped up the bleak, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's getting way more tense.
Yeah. I saw it described by someone as Black Mirror meets The Office, and
I've never seen The Office.
I mean, it's a workplace office episode of Black Mirror, but turned into a season, and it's got that. Here is a tech conceit that we're going to follow to its horrific conclusions.
Yeah.
The sort of the horror of the mundanity of the outcomes of a tech thing. I really like it.
Oh yeah, I'm fascinated. I would go and watch the next episode right now if we weren't recording.
Yeah, really, really nice cast. Oh god, yeah, same. Like, there's a bit of me that's like, I'm supposed to have a nap after this before Dice Funk, but like, I could watch another episode tonight.
There's a bit of me that's like, I'm supposed to edit this after this.
We could
edit this tomorrow.
We could watch that 4th episode tonight, right?
Right.
It's we've come in as there's 4 episodes available, and the week-to-week wait's gonna be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I am invested. Good cast of like some nice notable good actors in it.
Yeah.
Didn't expect good thriller, dramatic horror directed by Ben Stiller.
Yeah, that's not who I would have pictured.
No,
at the helm of this. But it feels like the whole thing about comedians writing horror really well.
Yeah,
Like Jordan Peele.
Yeah, it's that whole, you know how to use like setup and tension and payoff really well. Apparently, like, this is Ben Stiller's whole thing is on camera, so leading man. Behind the camera or like writing, he's got like a real honed in talent. And this has made me intrigued to go, what else has Ben Stiller directed? I'm intrigued to see more now. Yeah, Severance. Real good.
Yeah, you could download that.
Yeah, you could. You sure could. Thank you, random TikTok that pointed me towards this.
TikTok gets us all the best content.
Yeah. So, like, I initially found this. I saw a cool clip of it, but before I saw that, I saw you know, one of those TikToks. Do you ever occasionally get these where it's clearly a robot voice trying to narrate a film, like the summary of a film happening? You just get clips and it's like badly explaining what's happening. Do you ever get these? I occasionally.
So I'm watching the thing.
It'll be like, so-and-so does this. This is happening to so-and-so. It's trying to like recap things in 90 seconds. It's a bad format that I skip over. But this one caught me and I was like, that's intriguing enough. I'll go watch a clip on YouTube. Oh, this is in. I'm in. Yeah. Severance. Most invested I've been in a thing in a little bit.
More of this.
Yeah. What about you? You watched anything else this week?
I watched on the Tom Scott Plus channel, I Met Beardy Man. He remixed my voice into hyperpop. Tom Scott met Beardy Man. And guess what? He remixed his voice into hyperpop.
I mean, I'd feel misadvertised too if that wasn't what happened.
Yeah, it seemed like they had a fun time. Tom Scott being absolutely wowed by the whole process of getting the vocoder. I'm pretty sure there's some vocoding. There's some auto tune.
Yeah.
Obviously, like doing a little bit of like individual beatbox things to make like a drum set, and then turning that into just fun hyperpop.
Yeah.
And apparently, you can download that track because it was formally released.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a fun little bit. What about you? Have you watched anything?
I watched another Tom Scott video, which I think I've just seen on your history there. After 140 years, this old technology keeps trains safe.
Yeah, and no one's found a better way of doing it.
Yeah, the very short version, you should go watch this video, it's really interesting, is about some areas of Scotland that are really hard to quickly get to and check whether something has fallen on the line. And as such, the problem of false positives in detecting things like landslides, and some old tech that, for various reasons, is good at being a safety technology without giving too many false positives, and how that sort of interacts with these rural railways.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really neat little video.
Yeah.
Other than that, I've been watching a few videos of people playing the opening of Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Like just the first couple of hours, being like, okay, I've put like 30 plus hours in now. I feel like I could probably spoiler-free watch the start of some playthroughs.
Mhm.
Oh no. People are just like, I went like 30 degrees more to the left when I left the starting area, and here's just a completely different fucking thing that you...
Wow.
I'm very excited about the sheer number of, like, I thought I'd explored the opening area pretty well. No. The other day I was going around a castle that's like 2 minutes from the start of the game. I found a little thing that teleported me to the far end of the game with like enemies dropping 1,000 souls per enemy, and I was like, oh,
Wow.
this game's full of stuff, and it's very interesting watching other people's. What drew your attention?
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch anything else?
We watched the first episode of Picard Season 2.
Oh, we did. Oh, I need episode 2.
And indeed the rest of the season.
Yes. I'm intrigued at the fact that they seem to be doing more young Picard backstory this season,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope they stick the landing there.
Yep.
They definitely seem to be... There were a lot of people, I wasn't in this group, but there were a lot of people that complained that Picard Season 1 wasn't Star Trek enough.
What?
In that, like, apparently a very common critique from the angry, nerdy, whiny internet boys was...
The same people that hate Discovery.
Yeah, but they're not on a starship, and they're not doing... And where's all the Star Trek things? And I feel like maybe this is a response to that, because this definitely feels a lot more... We're putting Picard on a starship to do...
I don't know.
I
I don't know, like...
Yeah,
Because when at the end of the episode, there's like, and coming up in the rest of the season.
Yeah,
I get the impression that we're going back to exactly what we had
I
in the
think
first
we got
season.
one episode of something a bit like, oh, we doing no, okay, yeah, we're doing Picard. Okay, we're doing Picard shit.
We had a few like Starfleet-y episodes in the first season, or just sort of like here is an episode where we're on a ship doing ship
It
stuff.
seemed for a minute like they were gearing up for one thing, and I'm very happy about some of the cameos we saw come back. I know that
don't
I was
spoil
worried
that.
I was worried they'd feel cynical, but I'm like, oh no, I'm here. Give me more stories about them.
If you don't want to be spoiled, maybe blink during the credits, but also it's Picard credits, so it's feeding you little bits of stuff for the rest of the series.
Yeah,
same as the first one.
Same as Discovery's been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see that back. I'm enjoying it so far.
I want to see episode 2 before I really say much more, because like right now, I feel like we've had the narrative setup, but I don't know tonally what this season is.
Yeah, I feel like Star Trek is doing really good things right now.
Yeah, I'm willing to I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. It's doing really good things right now.
Yeah.
Is it Star Trek 3, the one with the whales?
5, I think, is Voyager.
Star Trek, the one with the whales. I'm
Nuclear
getting
Vessel.
I'm getting nuclear vessel vibes here, and I'm kind of all in if we get Picard's version of that a little bit. Maybe I'm so curious. I need to know.
I'm sitting here like, I mean, I don't really want to say anything. 'Cause I don't want to spoil it for people, but
I'm
enjoying that so far.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not complaining.
You got the fluffies on your
I got
arm.
the fluffies on my arm, and I'm just sort of rocking back and forward and being stroked by them.
I was just making sure I wasn't inconveniencing you with Fluffy.
No, Fluffy is never an inconvenience. Fluffy is so thank
Okay, I'm glad.
and friend. Also watched a little bit of Bob Ross because I needed soothing.
Yeah.
Watched season 31, episode 5 because that's one of the ones that's on YouTube and not Hulu. That's Cabin in the Hollow, and it's just a nice little snowy scene.
Yay!
It's very pretty, and I find all of those episodes very soothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you've been over-socialed for a couple of
Yeah.
days and you're very, very tired, sometimes what you need is just some soothing Bob Ross.
Yep. Other than that, I just watched Linux tutorials.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
Any recommendations?
no. Short version, all of the people who do Linux tutorials are doing Linux tutorials for other Linux people. No one is doing the kind of tutorial that you need if you are new to Linux, who's like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, how do I do this?
Mm.
They assume a baseline floor of knowledge that is kind of ridiculous. I've yet to find a good Linux tutorials channel that comes in at the right entry point and wraps up properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Well then.
Time for this.
Oh, is my phone screen blurry?
Oh,
Oh no, that's...
yeah. No, you scroll down to a bunny. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But where's all the usual doom though?
Yeah, hamster, bunny, cute cats.
And then
And just blah, 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 blah.
oh, bunny.
Hamster, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't know what's happened.
That's the Doom Diet app. Just set the amount of doom you can handle in a day, and once you've scrolled past that much doom on your timeline, the rest of the doom posts are blurred out for the rest of the day.
I'll try not to feel too much doom at how much is blurred out here. Oh, possums.
Oh, capybara.
Oh, I'm having to scroll a while.
Yep. Oh.
Oh, it's a duck in a hat.
Oh, a little
Oh.
turkey. Oh, here's a little hamster wearing a flower as a hat.
Oh, and they're friends.
Friends. Oh, that's cute. Oh, the cat's hugging a bunny.
Oh.
Am I missing something? I mean, there's a lot of blur there. But also a duck. I like the duck.
There's nothing behind those blurs, it's just more cute animals.
That's the Doom Diet app to help you get through the day without being quite so bleak.
Oh.
Have another duck.
Oh.
Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, we've been exploiting the gamers for a while now,
Yeah,
right?
like 40 years.
Yeah, and, I love to exploit the gamers.
Oh, yeah.
Can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
But don't you sometimes think there's more to life than this?
Coffee?
Well, I mean, yeah, of course, coffee, but I mean, there are so many other demographics we could be exploiting.
Go on.
Well, I don't know. I don't know exactly where I'm going with this. I'm just spitballing, but, what if there was another industry that horribly underpaid its workers and was making a real big push to not give customers real tangible ownership of the things they make that we could muscle in on?
I mean, that definitely sounds like our kind of people.
Yeah, you got any thoughts what we could do with that? There's got to be something.
Okay, well, is there someone we could maybe buy?
Let me have a look through who we got in here. Businesses.
Cheap ones, though, yeah, you know.
Oh, what about them?
Oh, them.
Yeah, the music distribution.
Oh, Musication.
Yeah, musication.
Yeah.
The music vacation.
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they paid actual royalties to the people that put music on there, which means that they don't make a huge amount of profit.
Yeah.
Which to me says very easy to buy out because they don't have a lot of profit. They can't fight off a buyout.
Yeah, I mean, we could just buy them.
Exactly, and
Pocket change.
exactly,
And then the
we-
exploitation begins.
exactly, because who better to exploit than underpaid musicians and music audiences that are totally willing to accept not actually owning their music.
You are a fucking genius.
I know.
So, what have you put in your ear meats?
I've really not put a lot in my ear mates.
No.
I've been falling asleep listening to The Empty Bowl with you.
That's been very soothing.
It's been a very nice, wind down in the evening routine of just put a gentle, chill podcast about cereal, very gently, soothingly said.
Some nice
Just some
ocean
gentle-
waves and people
gentle
talking
ocean
about
waves.
cereal.
Oh, I'm quite excited.
And
to
nothing
try
more
that,
difficult than cereal.
Exactly. It is.
It's almost like the world is a lot right now and we need soothing a lot.
Yeah, like the little tagline they say at the start of the episodes is like, look, it's a show where we give you half an hour where you have permission to just don't worry about anything else. It's just cereal here, nothing else, and it's good vibes. I will listen to episodes of that I've already listened to because it's just good vibes. You listened to much this week?
I've lost my thing. I had it and then it went.
How
Right.
dare! How dare!
I got recommended a video about. I'll get back to sound in a second. About someone cheating at Clone Hero,
Oh yes,
the Guitar Hero PC clone that
Yes.
fans have.
I believe this was a Carl Jobst video.
Couldn't tell you.
He makes lots of videos about speedrunning.
So yeah, I was curious about that, and then I was curious about the whole. Oh yeah, we make deliberately difficult tunes specifically for Clone Hero,
Yeah.
and really well as well, from what I can tell. Like, here is an expert, a hard, a medium, and an actually easy one,
Yes.
as opposed to because you used to be able to load custom songs into certain versions of original Guitar Heroes.
And the problem is that they would whatever version they made the difficulty for, or the other difficulties if they existed at all, usually weren't scaled properly.
Yeah, they were scaled for, hey, I am like lead player and I don't give a fuck about anyone who can't play as well as me. So they either didn't exist or just weren't terribly well implemented.
Often they just removed notes rather than like handcrafting a new, easier note pattern.
Yeah. So I listened to Megalodon, which is a 19-minute long custom Clone Hero track. You can find it on the YouTube channel Jarvis9999. And it's a lot of chiptune, a lot of like really speedy arps, and then like quite a cool guitar solo. And interestingly, I was expecting a lot of it to just be like ridiculous noise, just to try and make people do stuff with their fingers. But for the most part, it's very tuneful.
Yeah.
It's
There
got
is
some nice melodies.
There is some thought put into making sure that it at least doesn't clash.
Yeah.
It's at least progressing.
Like, there's a few bits where it's just like, ha ha ha, your hands hurt now, your hands hurt, ha ha. And there's still 15 minutes to go. But, like, for the most part, it's a good tune.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed my nearly 20 minutes of that. Yeah, there's a couple of those, but that was the one that really struck me. And then we listened to a bunch of 90s, like, trance hits.
We did, yeah.
Encore une fois, 9 a.m., 4 o'clock in the morning.
Music that I somehow, despite my age at the time that it released, have seared the lyrics into my brain.
You can blame your brother for that. And the fact that, like, they've been on every 90s compilation forever.
Yeah.
Like,
And then you realise that a lot of them are just very clearly about sex.
or drugs. Or
Yeah.
sex and drugs.
Yes. And they're songs that I was just singing along with as a kid, probably.
Oh yeah, there was some Europop as well. We had Boom
Yeah.
Boom Boom.
Yeah.
I want you in the wind.
You spend the night together. Boom, 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 boom.
Etc. Yeah, there was a lot of that dancing around the living room on Saturday night until 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, disco lights on, smoke machine on.
Yeah. Unst.
Unst. And furthermore, Unst. Yeah, it was a nice time. We listened to lots of good music, and thanks for good tunes. You listen to anything else?
Not really. Just before we started recording, and I've not had a chance to listen to the whole thing, I stumbled upon a video called Chipmunks on 16 Speed Sludgefest full album, which, to my understanding, is an 80s Alvin and the Chipmunks album played at 1/16th speed, which doesn't bring them down to normal voice. It pushes them past that into sounding like a really good late 80s, early 90s, like, goth band. Like, genuinely kind of impressed at how it sounds.
I'm curious.
It's pretty... I wanna give it more attention. I found it like 2 minutes before we recorded Quips, and I was like, This
This
sounds
is wild.
It sounds real good. I want to listen to it.
Well then.
Time for this.
This is Mission Control. Are you ready to begin the test?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm excited to find out how I control this. It's very exciting.
We spent a lot of money on this mech, so I want you to be absolutely sure we got all this testing as ready as it can be. Now, just have you set up the connection to your neural interface?
Is that how we're doing it? No, I hadn't yet. I had expected buttons and dials. That's what I'm used to. So this is gonna be some kind of this will be better than my brain's natural abilities or something.
It'll be way more instinctual because you'll just be you'll think about moving yourself physically. Where you're in the suspension harness there, you won't actually be moving, but you will be controlling the robot. It's, some people in testing found it easier to just close their eyes.
Okay. This is just like moving in the real world, huh?
Okay, you're getting a bit closer to that wall,
Yeah,
bit closer, a bit closer.
Okay.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Do remember we spent a lot of money on this.
I know. Look, I'm very good at precise instrumentation. I didn't realize that it was going to be reading my coordination brain signals. What if I just very careful... I put my hand sort of here and I'll balance and...
What's the foot?
Oh, okay.
You stood on Jenkins.
Oh no.
You okay, Jenkins?
I'm glad...
Be okay.
I'm glad there's deep treads in the feet on this thing. Can you give me a controller or something? I think I'd do better.
Okay, well, if you could just back into the harness.
Okay.
Oh god, it's falling! Ah!
Right, so we've got a few ideas for the new product line for this year. Now, I hope we can avoid some of the problems we had last year. We all know what happened.
It's deeply embarrassing.
Deeply embarrassing. So hopefully now that
Yes.
we've had a few cuts in the company, we can be a bit more careful about these things.
What have you got? What have you got first?
Well, first of all, we've got this hand mixer.
Oh, yes.
So, traditionally the hand mixer, it's sort of like a device. You hold it on the handle.
Yes.
You push the things across, and the swirly blades underneath.
Yes.
They counterspin against each other, and it's good for the mixer.
Yes.
But nothing at all like the hand whisks that you might otherwise use,
Oh,
like
indeed,
a balloon whisk. What
Yes,
if there
yes.
was something more like that?
More like that.
More like that. Now, how would we make that work in this sort of with our own unique technology? We want it to be powerful. We want people to know that it is a proper and sturdy bit of kit that they'll be using for a lifetime.
I don't know. Do you have any solutions?
Well, we considered making sort of a long shaft to hold the motor and
yes.
the battery compartment
That
in
sounds
there.
very sensible.
I mean, because obviously sometimes you'll be making something like a meringue.
Yes.
It will need to be whisked for a long time, and obviously you'll also need quite a lot of power in there.
Yes.
So you hold the long shaft. I think about 2 feet should probably do it.
Oh, yes.
And then you just turn it on there you just sort of stroke the shaft there, and then you just into the mixing bowl. That will go.
Oh, yes, you just sort of get a sort of stroking motion and
just sort of stroking motion
up and down the shaft. And...
Absolutely, and that'll also be the temperature control. And
I see.
Just grip it firmly and into the bowl, and I think I don't see any problems.
You
there
sort of
at all.
put your hand on the shaft and you slide it along, and you go, "This is getting hot now.
Oh well,
It's getting hot in here in the meringue."
It will, yes. There'll be all the white stuff on the end there.
Yes.
We've done it again, haven't we?
I think we might have done it again.
We've done it again. Right.
Oh no.
Oh, and I thought getting rid of Howard would have dealt with this.
Oh no.
We're going to have another word with R&D. This is a bit excessive for a mixer.
It might be. Maybe if we put a soft vibrating end on the end of it, so it just sort of vibrates the thing up rather than spin it off.
You're
I've done
doing
it
it
again.
now. Now let's have a look. I think we've got a product guide for this. We've had this going through QA for a while now. Let's see what we've got feedback-wise. Oh, we had a public test apparently.
How did it go?
Lots of sniggering. Instructions on clear. Penis stuck in blender. Yeah, but I think we might need to have some more pruning around the R&D department. See if we can
yes.
work that out.
Give him a nice tidy trim.
Yeah.
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Social justice warriors.
Social justice warriors?
Yeah.
Right, Larry.
Right, Barry. How you doing?
Oh, not too bad, mate. But exhausted.
Yeah.
Emotionally drained. But holding it together, mate. Trying to make the most. Spending a bit of time with loved ones.
Oh,
and
yeah, I know.
trying to cope on the day to day as best we
I
can.
know how it be,
Yeah.
Sometimes she's just got to get by, and sometimes you need a little help for that,
Yeah.
Sometimes I've been like that, and I've done therapy in the past. It's been quite helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Took me a while to, be willing to do that, because, it can feel like a little bit of a failure to need help with your mental health sometimes.
Also, it can be hard because if you don't immediately find a good therapist,
Yeah.
that can feel like a bit of a knockback and, mess a bit with your
Exactly.
self-esteem or even your feelings on the whole concept of therapy. But finding a good one.
Well, exactly. There's no shame in trying a therapist and
Oh, none
realizing,
whatsoever.
but specifically, there's no shame in going, that one's not right for me, I'll try another. It's not a failing of me.
Yeah.
It's just that, different styles for different folks.
Yeah, and also you never know when you're going to accidentally find a therapist who might come highly regarded, but it turns out they do actually have their own prejudices, and you were the first person that flagged that up amongst your friend group, perhaps, and you never know with things like that.
But that's the thing. It's important to know that there's nothing wrong with getting help, because sometimes you need an outside perspective and someone who has actually, had some training in how to help with brain stuff. Because I'm not a brain scientist. I don't know how to help with my own brain. I'm muddled by, but sometimes you just got to talk it through to someone else.
And also someone that's far enough detached from you yourself that you feel like you can just unload and knowing that is their job, rather than sort of starting to say some things maybe to a friend and then feeling like, I'm putting myself upon you.
Am I talking too much? Am I sharing something I don't necessarily want to share? You can just be like, you don't exist in the real world. You're a therapist. Just want the secrecy. Here you go.
Yeah, and that confidential nature of it, and the should be certainly a lack of judgment.
Yeah,
that really can help. Work through things, and get you yourself asking the questions that you need in order to move that forward.
Getting you to the point where you can sort yourself.
Absolutely, mate.
Giving you the tools you need to help yourself.
Yes.
Fancy a hug.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Good hug, mate. Good hug.
Oh, brilliant hug.
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to pop the kettle on.
Oh, yeah, have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So, Laura,
Yes.
we've done a book.
We did a book. You want to tell us about our book?
That's a book we did. It is written in the universe of Supremacy Software.
Yeah.
From the point of view of a PA who has just been hired. It is their dream job to work there. And they're suddenly finding that the dreams are not all they appear to be on the outside.
Indeed. It's called Who Hunts the Whale?
It's called Who Hunts the Whale, and it's available to pre-order now over at unbound.com/books/whale.
Go check it out.
Do it!
We're waiting to get it back so that we can do some more work on it, and then they'll do some more work and go back and forth a bit, and then it'll be in your hands.
Yeah, not long.
Yeah.
Not long.
Yeah, it'll creep up on you.
It will be. It'll be published in less than 12 months.
I think that's fair to say. Yeah. Before you know it, it'll be being printed, and you'll go, there's going to be physical books in the house.
Yep, and I'm going to have to sign them.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun time.
I'm going to have to handwrite some letters.
Yeah, we're going to have to handwrite some letters.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. We're going to talk to some people.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're paid for.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, you also have a book. It's adorable.
Yeah, me and my Dysphoria Monster. It comes out on August 18th, 2022. That's like 5 months away now. It's rapidly approaching.
Yeah.
You can pre-order it on places where books are. It's an illustrated children's book. I think it's very sweet. There's some lovely testimonials on the back from some people I admire. Go check that out. It's available to pre-order. Other than that, I'm just at Laura K. Buzz everywhere. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills, TikTok. It's just Laura K. Buzz everywhere. What about you?
Well, I couldn't get your unified branding, so I'm at streamerlinks.com/Janiac, JANEIAC. It's your one-stop shop for all of me stuff. But my most important one is patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio. For as little as $1 a month, you can help me justify my entire life. And a 76-hour work week that I do because I enjoy... all I want to do is make people entertained. Just smile or just have a nice relax
make
from life.
things that are important. Or
No,
that
they don't have to be important.
That
Just
make
as long
things
as they make
that
people a bit happier.
Yeah. Well,
That's-
that is important. It's very
important to me.
It's important to me. Yeah.
So will you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.
Let's have a look. I think we've got a product guide for this. We've had this going through QA for a while now. Let's see what we've got feedback-wise. Oh, we had a public test, apparently.
How did it go?
Lots of sniggering. Instructions on clear. Penis stuck in blender.
There was a half-second beat. I thought I was going to keep it. No.
Yeah, but I think we might need to have some more pruning around the R&D department. See if we can
yes.
work that out.
Give him a nice tidy trim.
Yeah.
This week's sponsor is Manscaped. It's not. Well, there you go.